Welcome back to the Startup Show. I'm John Biggs. Today on the show, we have Itamar Ben Hemo from Rivery. Rivery builds data pipelines. I want you to explain what that means first. Maybe that's going to take the entire podcast, I think, because it sounds pretty complex. So welcome. What are you guys up to?
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. So my name is Itamar. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Rivery. What we are doing is basically data movement, helping customers to get the maximum value, basically democratize their data, helping them to get data from hundreds of sources globally and from third parties, applications, databases, and bring them into the data warehouse. And in the data warehouse, basically to help them to transform the data, whether it's including in code like Python or SQL transformations and etc.
So what kind of data are you guys ingesting, and what comes out the other end once you process it?
Yes, in the early days, we started mainly with third-party APIs, marketing APIs. A lot of agencies started to use the product in the early days, but sometimes even big companies that the marketing division using Rivery to accelerate the data movement and basically collect data from hundreds of marketing sources. In the past 2-3 years, we see more and more the use cases of data replication from databases. It's mainly around with companies, enterprise companies that moving to cloud. So they are, their decision to go with the Google BigQuery, Snowflake, Databricks, no matter what is the target data lake or data warehouse, they will use Rivery in order to replicate the data from the log files from those databases. So this is a great use case that we see the most increasing now. Last but not least is the custom API. Basically the long tail of connectors that it's really hard for us and our competitors to maintain the hundreds of connectors. So we have our native connector that we are maintaining them, like Salesforce, business applications, NetSuite, and others. But there is a long tail of APIs or data sets that companies want to get data from. And in this, we are helping them with our custom API that, long story short, this is our strategy with AI, the first version of AI. It will be in the console. It's actually there now to be able to connect via ChatGPT console, like in the console, like ChatGPT, like you can ask for, I want to get data from this source. What Rivery does behind the scene is we are learning the documentation behind the scene on the fly, translating basically this into a YAML file, and within this YAML file, from that point, basically this is the connector. So it's actually, I think it will speed up and it will change how companies ingesting data from any sources. That I think that long term, we won't develop more new native connectors. Everything will go through this AI engine.
So is this structured data, or is this, I don't know, a web page? So what are you able to look at and turn into a feed?
So the first phase is basically documentation from we are scanning and scraping documentation from structured data. You like all the definitions that you can find in documentations like paginations and offset and all the definition. We are getting this one from our engine and generates the required YAML or the required connect. The second phase will be also to support unstructured data.
So the mission is I have a drilling system that runs some sort of arcane operating system, outputs some sort of data that I don't quite understand how to use, and I would be able to put that into a dashboard alongside the amount of ore that's removed from the ground or the amount of money that I'm spending, that kind of thing. And that's easy to do, or is that what was the process to do that before?
We worked on before that we supported the native connectors. Our teams, we got a requirement
coded
from
something
the
special.
We have a long tail of connectors on the in the queue, and our R&D team basically learning each connectors, you know, there is 50% overlap, but majority is every connector, every data source, they have their own unique definitions. And I would basically product team learn how this data source, how you can pull data from this data source according to the documentation. And now it goes to the R&D to develop the native connectors, and the native connectors wrap up in a,
Hmm.
there is an application that it basically makes the mission no code for the customer. So the users actually not dealing with anything, but the only challenge that we have is that our customers, they have much more data outside that they want to pull, and basically they are depends on our ability to deliver X amount of connectors every year. What will change is in two areas. One, internally, if we decide that there is a big connector that we want to make sure that we maintain and we support it, we are building it internally with our AI engine. But the big announcement here is actually to spread the message or to share this engine, smart engine that we built here with our customers as a self-service. So our customers basically will come with their credentials, with a third-party URL, and that's it. This is what they need to do, and they will get the connectors for that one within seconds
So
on the fly.
yeah, that's an interesting point. So the business model before, for X number of years, was always somebody comes to you with this file, a CSV or whatever, and says, "This is the spec for this data. It's going to be coming at this rate, and I need to be able to ingest it and use it." And your team would sit there, R&D would sit there and look at it, and oh, we can do this. Most of the data, it's a timestamp and what, I don't know, some kind of telemetric data or something like that. You could stare at that, know what to do, but it was all done by hand. So you had 2 weeks or whatever.
Not
I don't know how long it would take, right?
it's not by hands, and in the customer experience is basically before launching this CSV. Let's say the customer want to get data from a
Mm-hmm.
CSV. So when we launch a native connector such as CSV, we need to know how to handle all unique aspects that you can find.
Situations,
What
yeah.
we're going to meet on this one. So when we have now the, I don't know, 200 of native connectors, the customer is not sending us. It's just configure. This is the file. This is where
Mm-hmm.
it's it. This is, and then immediately we are scanning the files, show them the mapping, what we found, and from that point they can upload, and we generate, of course, the Snowflake data where the Snowflake tables and everything required. It's even small modifications behind the scene. But this is for the customers. It was self-service, and it doesn't need to send us the specific file as
Okay.
long as we support the native connectors. The problems when we don't support the native connectors, then they stuck basically. Hey, I'm using Rivery to get data from 49 data sources, but I have another 10 system that I don't
Mm-hmm.
see you supporting this one in the coming months or years. How can I deal with this one? For that point, until now, we supported by the custom API, so they could go to the documentation of the third party, learn all the definition, and coming into the platform and configure this basically adding the configuration, and from that point they have the connectors. But we want to actually to improve the experience by just telling us, I want to get this data set, this is the credentials, that's it, there you go, you have the table in Snowflake.
Now, does anybody lose their job now because the AI can do all that?
Listen, we are in particular, the way that I see it is that these companies are not getting the data, and it's the backlog of that data engineers and data teams. I will show you my story. I'm 20 plus years running data companies, and this is what I'm doing for a living. So I don't believe
Mm-hmm.
that data engineers will lose their job. I think that it will make them to first provide better time to market for the business. The second thing is to make their life, let's say, easier in areas that they don't want to invest. If you are good data engineers, you don't really want to support and maintain all the changes that Facebook's doing. Okay, it's not
Hmm.
It's not NASA. It's not a big mission for data engineers. And to maintain and to follow it all the time and to have broken pipelines, this is something that no one loves, whether if you're in the business or the data engineer. So we will reduce the let's say the boring stuff and the areas that as a good data engineer you really wanted to have as a, I don't want to say no code because you can run it programmatic,
Hmm.
but build it when something else that specialized on this one doing this mission.
So this is an interesting. So you're is an interesting problem that the amount of data that's probably coming in is probably increasing exponentially,
Yeah.
constantly. Like, how do you manage something like, again, telemetry data from a self-driving car, for example? If I have a fleet of trucks and I want to know where all the trucks are at once, and I want to know what their speed is, and I want to have them on a dashboard, and I might not have the right. I guess you could do it by GPS or some kind of other thing, but maybe there's other telemetry data that I would want. Maybe, I don't know, fuel consumption or energy consumption, that kind of thing. How do you maintain that speed and hit real time, or is that a concern for you all?
So it depends mainly on the source. There are sources that giving you the option to pull the data in a stream motion, like in a streaming way. Like for example, Webbook is a very simple approach for that one, or databases that basically running on our Kafka, managed Kafka. So it's basically streaming the data every second. There are
Hmm.
sources, and actually most of the sources in the world, if you say that, currently there are 7 to 8 thousand of data sets of companies that sitting in third party, and most of them providing you just an ability to get the data via REST API or via download or whatever. So we will
Hmm.
be the company or the engine to help to make these data sets accessible with zero time.
Or zero latency.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's the future for AI and data? What are you seeing that the AI is able to do that you weren't able to do before?
I think that listen, when I'm taking a look into the market and basically what all our competitors doing with AI now, a lot related to AI assistant. This one, all by the way, we implemented that one few months ago. So to assist, to help the user to work with the system, help in documentation, help in ask AI inside of the console. I need to do that, so now I don't need to go to documentation and get right there the answer. I think what we are doing is basically, and we are first to do that move, I think, is to take the AI opportunity and turn it into the real activity, the real mission that we have. And the reason that we started that one 12 months ago, this project, is a lot because our capacity or our ability to address the customer demands. And I told to my team, listen, we cannot wait 1 month to develop connector because we have a list of 100 for next month. So I cannot support this one, and we are losing revenue because we are consumption-based company. The data that move, they are paying us based on the data size. So it's actually hurting us. So we need to find ways to scale the business of connectors by AI. Honestly, I didn't know that the solution that the team will bring will be such an incredible solution. So I think it's definitely what I see for Rivery as the first phase. And then again, long story, after that one, you have and more things to do and more challenges to address. There is the area that we're already working with the AWS in particular on the Amazon queue to enabler, to be a kind of enabler for the Amazon Q or OpenAI, those kind of companies, the LLM engines, because I think that what we focused, most of us until now, most of the data engineers focused mainly on building the data warehouse, building the data lake. Now there is brand new let's say, a database, which is the AI or the LLM engine that you need to connect to and to be enabler for them. Because one of the challenges is that I have the engine, I have the LLM engine, but I need data to get there. So the data sits again in hundreds of systems, and I need to bring them in. So also for us,
Mm-hmm.
now there is brand new targets such as vector databases or directly the LLM engine. So definitely, because with no data, there's no AI. End of the day. So this is why we see it as a big part in our foundation from now on.
If a founder wants to go into SaaS for data, what should they be trying to tackle? What are some of the bigger problems in the space right now?
I think there is a big challenge now in the industry that a lot of fragmented solution. Basically, a lot of tech companies they bought five, six in order not to develop code for every single business request. They went out and shopped for a lot of, let's say, solutions. One solution to get the data from this specific type of sources. Then I need another solution for the long tail APIs. Then I need another solution for the transformation, and another product for the orchestration, and fifth product to validation, QA, and I don't know, like enrichment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that mix of tools made the companies to to be struggle to deploy a system, state of art system that can grow with. Because when you are starting as a startup, it's clearly you want everything really fast. I'm a CEO for the third time, so it's I know when I need data, I need it now. It won't be as a small startup. It's not relevant in 2 weeks. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
more important, but you need to get urgent answers for what you are doing, how to track the business. So you don't want to have large project from one hand. But in the other hand, you don't want to struggle with five, six tools just to run one data pipelines, because one of the challenges that you are facing with, it can start with security, that, many systems touching your credentials. You need to orchestrate and monitor everything, and each individual or niche player, they have great monitoring product, but for their purposes. Now you need to bring another product to connect all of them into a monitoring system in order to track your pipelines. You have bug in one in the once one piece in the pipeline, then it's going to go the entire experience. So there is a lot of things that we see now, a lot of movement into consolidation. I think the CEO of DBT spoke about that one in the past. He published an article, and super brave and great article about the interest of companies to buy now 12 to 14 days in his world, 12 to 14 tools in order to manage your data stack.
Mm-hmm.
This is the interest for that one declined dramatically. It's a lot coming from, again, the time to market, but a lot came also, although other part is the finance, because you are working now you need to have one data pipeline, and eventually, because you built it based on 4 or 5 tools, then each one of the product, they have their own unique way to charge you. So you always need to control the balance, and you cannot predict what will be your budget for this mission. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really something that we see now as an interest to basically harmonize everything and consolidate everything in one or two tools. Not necessarily it's Rivery or 5 other tools. It can be Rivery plus DBT. It can be Rivery plus Airflow. It can be you can use that one, and of course all the other part you already have, like the Tableau or Looker, whatever in the front end, the Sigma, or the databases, which is we see a lot. Databricks, Snowflake, Google BigQuery, and of course the
Hmm.
solutions of AWS.
So this is your third company. What's your next company going to be?
No, this will be the last one.
Last one. You're gonna go to bed
I
after this one.
my wife that the second one, we lived in the US until last year, and it was amazing experience with, in the company that I built there. But yes, I think that I don't know. I promised my wife not to open another company, but this time I believe this is the last one because I think that we are in a very good market, in a very there is a lot of potentials, and we are. I don't want to say that we are just in the beginning, but we are serving now almost 500 customers, so globally. So the sky is the limit. Basically, every
Hmm.
company can use Rivery, whether you are 50 people in the organization or 50,000. So I think that the future for a product like Rivery that can be really strong, and I believe that that will stay here and retire from here.
Okay. I'll check back in 6 months. You'll probably have two more companies running.
6 months. Listen, I'm talking about the journey of I
I
built
know
my
it's
first
but it's
company in 2007, so it's
but
16 years.
entrepreneurship is an addiction, right? You want to keep building.
But I think that you can. I agree. I agree. Building is the things. Let's say, but I think that there is an opportunity. Post Rivery. I don't see it now happening,
Hmm.
but helping other entrepreneur, young entrepreneur, learning from your mistake, from my mistakes. Every time that I build a second or third company, I thought, okay, I won't face with this challenge. And then eventually you see that it's such a different industry or such a different practice or different offering or different service. Then you're dealing with sometimes with the same challenge but in a different interpretation. So maybe to help to young entrepreneurs and to help them. This is what I'm doing all the time. But maybe it will be, I don't know, 10 years from now, it will be my day job.
All right, sounds good. Itamar, thank you for joining us. This has been fascinating. So the website is rivery.io. You can check it out if you have data ingestion needs, I suppose, right? And they should
Yes,
just reach out to you directly.
I have team, but I'm open to get any
All right.
request.
All right. Sounds good.
Always
This
available
has
24/7.
Perfect. This has been the Startup Show. I'm John Biggs. We'll see you next episode.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.